Good morning. I'm meteorologist Kevin Smith here at the National Weather Service in Pocatello with your weather hazard briefing for Saturday, July 29th. The big story as we go over the next week or so, particularly for those of us who are a little bit tired of all of the hot, dry conditions that we've had here for the past week or so, there is a pattern change on the horizon. We're going to start talking about that a little bit this morning. We're going to get deeper into the details here as we go over the next several days. First, though, we do have that hot, dry, breezy pattern still in place for just a couple more days. This is courtesy of a high-pressure system that is centered down just east of the Four Corners region. That's actually strengthening and amplifying a little bit up over our forecast area and maintaining that influence through this weekend. Okay, so today into Sunday, really no change in this pattern, and critical fire weather conditions really remain our primary concern under this general weather pattern. Second bullet here, though, monsoon moisture on the horizon? Question mark? Well, it's looking like it is. We are seeing a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the forecast that is expected to increase as each day goes by, starting on Monday, particularly down toward the Bear Lake area, but then increasing and expanding northward across our forecast area as we move forward through the new week. Right now, Wednesday and Thursday this coming week looking like the potentially wettest days, and cooler temperatures expected under this pattern as we increase the cloud cover and, again, that shower and thunderstorm activity. Jump right into our weather risk outlook here this morning, looking at the next 5 days. And you can see we do have some red shading here for today. This is really tied to critical fire weather. We do have another red flag warning that is in effect. For our fire weather partners, this is going to be portions of zone 475 and 476 below 6,500 feet in elevation. So we're really looking at the valley areas up in these zones here, where we're going to get that best overlap of still some borderline critical winds, and then also very dry relative humidity values, 15% or below. This will include portions of the Lost River area up into the Sawtooth area near Stanley, and of course Lemhi County and Salmon as well. Maybe an isolated thunderstorm this afternoon. You can see that here up in the Lemhi County area, also extending into Sunday, but really dry across the rest of the forecast area here over the weekend, really not looking at much of any activity. There's a couple models that are hinting at maybe a localized shower up across the broader Central Mountain region here today, but we're not really very confident in that. I think some of that is going to manifest as some cloud cover, maybe some virga, where you see those streaks coming down from the clouds, but there isn't actually rain reaching the ground due to that dry air mass in place. So other than Lemhi County, really, we're looking at dry conditions here for both Saturday and Sunday, and we continue those breezy conditions, possibly into the Snake Plain, at least the Arco Desert region, as we go into Sunday afternoon. A little bit of an uptick there. Into Monday and Tuesday, you can see some isolated thunderstorms starting to creep into the picture. We're really going to kick off this trend, this pattern change toward that monsoonal moisture down in the far southeast first. So as we get down toward the Bear Lake region, we'll introduce an isolated thunderstorm Monday and continued breezy, especially up across the Central Mountains. Tuesday, isolated thunderstorm coverage expanding a little bit across all of the southern highlands, including the South Hills, and then across the eastern highlands all the way up into Driggs and Island Park. Finally, Wednesday, we told you Wednesday and Thursday are looking like the best coverage and the wettest conditions here under this new pattern. You can see that starting to creep into the outlook here with more widespread showers and thunderstorms across all of southeast Idaho as we head into Wednesday afternoon, and maybe even some localized heavy rain. We're still ironing out the details. We really need to see how much of that moisture surges north. What is that thunderstorm coverage going to end up looking like? But certainly some potential is there with a lot more moisture in place to see some localized heavy rain, at least for a few spots with those thunderstorms starting Wednesday. Satellite loop this morning, pretty quiet. You can see actually a little bit of white here appearing over southeast and south central Idaho. These are very high-level clouds, nothing to be concerned of down at the lower levels. And again, with a dry day in place for most of us, going to see plenty of sunshine out there. Had a few technical difficulties with this graphic this morning, so I apologize. It is a little blurry, but this is the area that we have the red flag warning in effect. I know we've had several days of these red flag warnings in effect for some of our zones, and again, that hot, dry, breezy pattern is not letting up just yet, at least for today into tomorrow, kind of dominating the weekend, but portions of zone 475 and 476 as shown on the map here, but specifically for elevations below 6,500 feet is where that best coverage of wind and low RH is today. Low temperatures as you head out this morning, more of the same. No big change in our pattern here. We'll kick things off with 50s and 60s across most of the forecast area. We're headed toward high temperatures today. Again, very warm, above normal for this time of year by a little bit. 94 for Chalice, 98 down here in the Pocatello area. Don't see any 100-degree readings here officially in the forecast. That's good news, but certainly some mid to upper 90s coming in across the eastern Magic Valley. 85 up in the cooler Island Park region, 89 for Driggs. Very similar to what we've been seeing. Here's a look at those minimum relative humidity values this afternoon over here on the left, overlapped with wind gusts shown over here on the right. Your eye is certainly drawn to the stronger wind gust potential here yet again across the Central Mountains. This is the only place where we have the red flag warning in effect today. And where you see the darker blues and the yellows here, wind gusts of 25 to 30 miles an hour are forecast this afternoon. Certainly, we're going to be dry down across the Arco Desert, portions of the Snake Plain. You can see values below 10% here in the forecast. Just those winds are a little bit lighter, so we're not quite reaching formal critical weather criteria for any sort of red flag, but certainly still going to be quite dry. And you can see some of the drier values up here in the valleys across the Central Mountains as well. As we head into Sunday, we're going to lose just a few degrees. We're still in the 90s, as you can see here for most locations across southeast Idaho, but only a few places reaching the mid-90s. Places like Shoshone, Minidoka, Pocatello once again, but shave just a few degrees off for most other areas. We're really, again, not changing our pattern just yet. We're going to hold on to this hot, dry pattern into Sunday. Here's the same setup here, minimum relative humidity values during the afternoon on the left. We have those wind gusts on the right. You can see a slight increase for most areas in those wind gusts. So the question for Sunday is, will we pull off one more day of critical fire weather conditions and possibly a red flag warning? That's what we're going to be watching here over the next several forecast updates. You can see those winds getting quite gusty again across the Central Mountains and possibly spilling out into portions of the Snake Plain, northern portions of the eastern Magic Valley. For fire weather partners, we're looking at 475, 476, 410, 425, that kind of region for some of the best overlap of critical conditions. And you can see the RHs here certainly reaching those critical conditions in some of those zones as well. So stay tuned. We'll continue to watch those numbers here as we go through the day today. High temperatures Monday, maybe losing just another degree or two, still holding on to pretty warm readings, fairly close to normal for late July. Again, upper 80s to mid 90s, depending on your location. Look at this temperature trend here for Tuesday and Wednesday, though. Tuesday, over here on the left, afternoon high temperatures generally in the mid 80s to lower 90s, just a hint of improvement. And then Wednesday, over here on the right, significant difference. Remember, Wednesday is our first wetter day, assuming that monsoon moisture makes it up here as forecast. We're looking at temperatures topping out in the upper 70s for places like Island Park, Driggs, Swan Valley, down into the Bear Lake region. 82 here in Pocatello, losing almost 10 degrees there. 88 up in Chalice, so at least 5 degrees cooler. So that's going to be what we're seeing with increased cloud cover and some of that increased moisture, particularly as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. Finally, I wanted to jump ahead and show you those minimum relative humidity values on Wednesday as well. Very indicative of that moisture arriving from the south. Again, this is not maximum. This is not overnight. This is afternoon moisture. Readings 50+% across the southern and eastern highlands, and even up into the Central Mountains where it takes a little longer. It's a little harder to really penetrate that moisture up to the northwest. Readings possibly closer to 25% or so instead of this critical 15% or drier that we've been seeing under our current pattern. So certainly some change on the way, and that's reflected here too in the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. Favoring above normal precipitation over that period here across the northern Great Basin into the northern Rockies, including southeast Idaho. So that's what we're looking at here over the next few days. Again, in the days ahead, we'll continue to dig into the details on this potential surge of moisture into the region. I know many of us are looking forward to switching things up, getting a little bit different pattern in here after all of the hot, dry conditions we've seen, but certainly holding on to that here through the weekend with some critical fire weather concerns. That's it for your briefing this morning. As always, it is the weekend, but we're here 24/7. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach out. Our email address, phone number, website, social media here on the screen. Everybody have a great Saturday.